All right, I'm back. And as you can see, now I'm in the little screen like you're used to seeing. My crystal ball is still over here in case I need to divine something as we go. So today we're going to be talking about divination and oracles, specifically four oracles amongst the Azandi. But I wanted to talk a little bit at first about divination in general. So what is divination? So divination is, and I'm going to argue there's a difference here, it reveals future events or foretells things, or it describes current events, or it possibly describes past events. And I think there's a qualitative difference on this. And I'll talk about how that's different in practice as we move along. So I think definition is something different than, say, magic rituals, like we saw in the Indian magic rituals. But on the other hand, I see divination in Tantra texts pretty commonly. Like you'll have a ritual in particular to ensure successful childbirth. But at the same time, there'll be a divination to see about the health of the child or the position of the child or something about the child that will dictate the type of ritual that would be used to aid in that childbirth. All right, so I would argue that we connect magic and we connect religion, or connect magic and we connect divination because they're all a part of that high coefficient of weirdness. There's an oddness to them. There is a sense of being non-traditional, a sense of being unorthodox, a sense of being non-normative, as we've noted in the beginning of the class, is a characteristic of quite a lot of magic. So one of the things I wanted to tell you is that this is an occult technology. When I'm talking about occult, I literally mean what the word means. Occult, hidden, or even cast aside, rejected knowledge. And I'm a big fan of rejected knowledge. And as I often say, in the material world, we throw the baby out with the bathwater, but that baby's still out there screaming. That baby could do some work. Okay, so the thing about divination is it's a skill. A lot of people think that it's something that you're just born with, but in fact, it's something that can be cultivated. Sure, some people have a better predilection for it than others. Some people might have an inborn aptitude for it, but it is really something that anybody can do. So when you look at a crystal ball, or when you're doing a thing called scrying, which I'll describe in a minute, you are using a very active version of your active imagination. How does a diviner divine things? They're using their brains. They're using their own imagination. So what I like to tell my students is I know where divination comes from. And from interviewing a lot of divination people that see themselves as psychic and whatnot, they describe similar processes and I watch them go through it. What you do is you blank out your mind. Imagine you're looking at a black mirror or a big chunk of obsidian that's been, so volcanic obsidian that's been polished so it shines and reflects. Or you're looking at, and this is the way that works the best for me, an empty TV set. Get it in your head. I put it right like in the middle, right there. And you just sort of focus your brain on that image of that mirror and just let nothing be there. Just let nothing be there. Let that TV just be completely empty. As you're actively watching it, you wait, and you wait for images to come up. That's how the majority of divination people do it. I will talk about some nuance on why I find that to be sometimes dishonest on the part of some diviners. Anyway, so what is scrying? Well, scrying is an operation done in ceremonial magic in which one person will perform a ritual invocation, say invoking an angel or a demon or a something, whatever. And then they kind of invoke that to the space. Another person will close their eyes or stare into a crystal ball or begin doing just automatic writing. And as the ritual unfolds, the operator will ask questions. And the person who's writing or speaking or whatnot, this person's in a passive state, will then answer those questions using their sort of active imagination. And from that, the operator learns things. So when someone is a very skilled scryer in communities of ceremonial magicians, they are considered to have a talent and they are considered to have developed that skill called scrying. But like I said, anybody can do it. And I've sat in on some really interesting sessions where the operators are able to ask really curious questions and get remarkably interesting answers. And you look at the person who is the scryer, who's speaking, who's in that trance state or whatnot, kind of being a medium. And, you get the chance that they could just be making stuff up. But you also get a really strong sense that they're not, that there's something else speaking, that they're a conduit to something. So someone would say it's just their unconscious. I kind of think that if they're speaking from their unconscious, it's just as interesting, or they're connecting to something else. It's hard to say. I go back and forth when I attend these sessions. Okay, so the word divination, in fact, from the Oxford English Dictionary, where I always take everything and all my definitions, are the action or practice of divining, the foretelling of future events or discovery of what is hidden or obscured by supernatural or magical means, including soothsaying, so telling the future by pronouncement, augury, we'll talk about that in a second, prophecy. In ancient Greece, there was an oracle. We have this word oracle from ancient Greece. The oracle was a woman who would sit on a very special three-sided stool, and she was called the Pythia, from which we get the word python. She had an association with snakes. And anyway, the Pythia would go into a trance, and people would ask her questions, and she would make pronouncements. We have this going back long into Greek periods of time, long into ancient Greece. There has been some excavation and thoughts about the temple of the oracle at Delphi, that in fact, there was a type of smoke that came out of the rocks that would have been helping her to enter a alternate state of consciousness, which is just fascinating. So we have other related ideas like precognition. When you hear people talk a lot about precognition, that's the notion that you can know something before it happens. It's also a power of Spider-Man and his spidey senses. Anyway, so you also guesses or intuition. What do you, we talk about people having intuition. You've heard the phrase woman's intuition, which seems to be a thing. It's definitely happened in my life. So with this sense that someone is intuitive. But we also have this word augury, and augury talks a little more specifically about systems for creating divination. Systems of divination are more than just you blank out your head and something happens. You have a technology around it. You're looking at something that you are interpreting, whether it's the images that you see that come up from the crystal ball or the cards that you draw in, say, tarot. So augury here, the practice of predicting the future, revealing hidden truths, or obtaining guidance in future affairs on the basis of the observation and interpretation of natural signs, such as the behavior of birds or celestial phenomena, the examination of animal entrails, etc. Divination, prognostication, soothsaying. So what is augury? It'd be looking at like the flight of birds and to understand something, the behavior of a very specific dog. It was usually connected in Greece with bird behaviors. Also, looking inside of the bodies of sacrificial animals to find signs of something that's going to be developed by reading the signs of abnormalities or specific things that are found inside the bodies of specifically sacrificial animals.